not in the castle.
Sorry, Father.
Sorry, Father.
Covington Cross. You're watching Channel 5.
Residents of Louisiana's Gulf Coast today getting ready for Hurricane Andrew. It's expected to hit full force later tonight. In Florida, where Andrew hit yesterday, the damage is enormous. One estimate is $20 billion worth. 50,000 are homeless. At least 15 are dead.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. All any of us has to do is look at what happened to South Florida yesterday, but residents of Louisiana have had their own experiences with hurricanes, and most of them are taking no chances. An estimated 1.6 million residents of coastal Louisiana got in their cars, boarded buses, even loaded up horse-drawn wagons to make way for Hurricane Andrew. Charles Murphy has spent the day about 100 miles west of New Orleans in Cameron Parish, where the hurricane is expected to make landfall later tonight.
They were told to get out of Cameron Parish by 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they were getting out with everything they could take with them.
TVs, VCRs, microwaves, our clothes, picture albums, all our stuff we want to keep.
At the bank in Cameron, they loaded up all the money and records.
25 years this bank's been open. We never moved the collateral files out of here, so this is the first time.
In 1957, Hurricane Audrey went through here with 10 feet of water. 500 people drowned, and that's why all of these cars are going to higher ground. This building, one of the few left standing after that storm, was being boarded up. All over Cajun country, people were getting out. Jimmy Kelly and his wife were going north to Lake Charles.
70, 80 mile-an-hour winds. A lot of times we stay, but this is too big to take a chance with a family.
This shrimper was taking his boat upriver to Lake Charles, too. All day long, helicopters brought crewmen in from offshore oil rigs. The 57 hurricane also drowned thousands of cows, so ranchers like Kenny McDaniel were taking livestock north.
We just bought these here not long ago, and we're still paying for them, and if we lose them, then we lose everything, you know. That's how we make our living.
Southern Louisiana is a watery place, only a foot or two above sea level normally. A direct hit from a hurricane could turn this into an ocean, as it did 35 years ago. But this time, most of the residents are leaving. What'll happen here tonight?
Only God knows.
Charles Murphy, ABC News, Cameron, Louisiana.
Thank you.
Perhaps the understatement of the year, hurricanes are unpredictable. All day today, the people in New Orleans had worried that the storm might be headed directly at them. And because of the geography of the city, actually below sea level, they had good reason to believe they would be especially vulnerable. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
Throughout much of New Orleans today, the sounds were of a city preparing for disaster.
And I set them up over here up to this point.
By this evening, those sandbags were in short supply. Although more than 1 million people were asked or ordered to leave low-lying areas, in New Orleans, many residents refused, waiting for Andrew to arrive, banking that Andrew will come ashore someplace else.
It seems like anywhere you go, you'll get caught one way or the other. If it's not the water, it might be a tornado, whatever.
And already there are tornado watches in southern and central Louisiana. But it's the water that worries most here. Much of New Orleans is below sea level, protected by a series of levees or man-made barriers that surround the city.
The city is situated as a saucer, and once the water gets in, you got to pump it up and out.
Even before Andrew arrives, the water held back by this one levee is already as high as the rooftops behind it. Today, crews work to fill in any gaps.
There's always a concern trying to beat a hurricane. It's so unpredictable.
Convoys of National Guard vehicles that can operate in high water are being deployed to help in any rescue efforts.
This city is still expecting high winds and high waves, but to avoid the brunt of the storm. The main concern now, in addition to the tornadoes, is the rainfall and the flooding that could cause. Ted?
John, what's happening out at the airport tonight? Same kind of high activity?
Very little activity, Ted. Throughout the day, very few planes around, gate after gate empty. Last time we checked, there was only one airline flying in, and we don't expect that to last much longer.
John McKenzie, thank you. As we always do at times like this, we turn to the National Hurricane Center in Florida. and its director, Bob Sheets. I spoke to him just a few minutes ago. Bob, what's the current heading and where is it likely to hit next?
Moving toward the northwest at around 15 to 16 miles per hour, and so it's going to move right across the coast here in southeast and south central Louisiana and be there sometime within, about 6 hours or so from now.
Is there going to be any difference in terms of the storm's intensity when it hit southern Florida yesterday and when it hits Louisiana tonight?
It's exactly the same pressure right now as it was when it struck this area yesterday. The winds have actually spread out to the north, so it's actually going to have a larger wind field than it did down here. If there's anything fortunate here, it is moving nearly parallel to the coast, and so the storm surge there is going to be 10, 12, 14 feet, not the 20 feet as if it were coming in from the south.
And is the fringe of this storm going to hit New Orleans at all?
Yes, it is. We're going to get at least hurricane force winds there, and just depends on exactly how close that eye comes to the greater New Orleans area right here. They could get 100-mile-per-hour winds, and they probably will in those tall buildings around there in any case.
Bob Sheets of the National Hurricane Center. While Louisiana gets ready, Florida picks up the pieces, billions of dollars in damage from the worst storm to hit there since the 1920s.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Dimetapp.
The makers of Dimetapp know it's important for allergy and cold sufferers to trust their medication. Doctors and pharmacists have trusted the Dimetapp brand for safe, effective relief for 30 years. You can trust Dimetapp Extend tabs for 12 hours of allergy relief. And if you're concerned about drowsiness, Dimetapp contains one of the least sedating, non-prescription antihistamines. Trust Dimetapp, the #1 doctor-recommended antihistamine decongestant non-prescription formula.
Look at me, enjoying a crisp red apple. Even with my dentures, thanks to Super Poli-Grip.
Super Poli-Grip holds so tight, many denture wearers can enjoy more of their favorite foods.
Even apples.
Super Poli-Grip.
Now you don't need a prescription to get prescription-strength medicine for itches and rashes. Introducing new maximum-strength Cortaid. Now with twice the healing medicine. New maximum-strength Cortaid. Prescription strength without a prescription.
More evidence of just how powerful Hurricane Andrew is. It's at the Homestead Air Force Base, which took a direct hit yesterday. One disaster relief official said simply, Homestead Air Force Base no longer exists. Here's ABC's Jim Slade.
Virtually every building was destroyed or damaged. Only one runway is open. This base, normally one of the Air Force's show places, is barely functional. Its personnel evacuated before the storm hit.
Well, we normally have about 6,500. Right now, I would estimate that we've got about 225. And we're not allowing other people back on the base at this time because of the unsafe condition of many of the buildings.
Homestead is normally a base for F-16 combat squadrons. These planes, grounded for repairs, were caught by the storm. The others, their maintenance people and spare parts, were sent to shelter at bases north of here, where they'll operate for the time being. Families of base personnel were sent north 18 hours ahead of the storm. They were ordered to pack a bag, get a tank of gas, and not to come back until they're told to. With half of the base housing destroyed, the BX gone, and the hospital ruined, it's likely to be some time before they return. With the government closing bases in an economy drive, the fear is that someone in Washington might think it would be cheaper to close Homestead than to rebuild it. But Colonel Plummer has already started the cleanup.
I'm a military man, not a politician, and that's more of a political question, I think, right now. My job is to reconstitute this base as quickly as possible, and that's what we're focusing on.
Teams with equipment, food, and construction supplies are being flown to Homestead on cargo planes to start putting it back together. At the end of World War II, Homestead was closed by a hurricane for 9 years. The world situation is different today. They hope to have those F-16s back here flying as a unit in very short order. Jim Slade, ABC News, Homestead Air Force Base, Florida.
Throughout Florida, the enormity of the disaster is still unfolding. There was an early sense of relief yesterday when Miami itself was not hit head-on. What's emerging today is how extensive the destruction was just south of Miami, an area which took Andrew's full force. At least 15 dead, what may be the most costly natural disaster in U.S. history. Whole communities demolished. I don't even know where I am, said one returning resident. Everything's gone. In Miami, ABC's Al Dale.
Only from the air can you understand the extent of the damage in the area south of Miami. Mile after mile, neighborhood after neighborhood, homes and businesses destroyed. Dade County officials say it could cost $15 to $20 billion to rebuild South Florida, more than twice the price tag of Hurricane Hugo.
Dade County, as we know it, especially from the Kendall area south, is never going to be the same. It is fundamentally destroyed.
I had 75% of my roof fall off. I was in my home with my son.
Little is left of the small town of Florida City, population 6,000. 300 mobile homes were in this trailer park that Len and Bud Peavy had called home for 8 years. Not one was left intact.
Just fortunate, we're all alive and well, and just glad to have each other and, and the kids.
Yeah, we made it. We had to sit in a bathtub, but we made it.
With all this destruction, you have to wonder why no one was killed in Florida City. The answer is most people obeyed the order to evacuate the area. The few who did not were lucky.
We could have left before, but we were ornery. Like I said, I'm an old-timer, and I thought if I could make it through Donna, I could make it through this one, too.
Would you do it again?
No, no way.
An estimated 50,000 people lost their homes. 35,000 are still in shelters, and no one knows how long they will have to stay. For many, coping with the destruction means lining up for necessities once taken for granted. Waiting in the hot sun to buy a bag of suddenly available ice can cause frustration and make tempers flare. There are a few signs that recovery has begun. A convoy of power trucks from Tampa arrived to help restore electricity, which an estimated 500,000 residents still do not have. Yesterday, though, the figure was more than double that. Al Dale, ABC News, Miami.
For many people in southern Florida, the only thing standing between them and financial ruin is the hope that they can get money back from their insurance company, which means this is going to be an enormously busy and financially draining time for a lot of insurance companies. Here's ABC's Linda Patillo.
Jerry Jimenez went looking for trouble today.
Hello? Anybody home?
Like thousands of other insurance claims adjusters, Jimenez made his way through the rubble, trying to find his company's policyholders. His first stop, Frank and Jan Gomez and their home of 8 years.
This house may not be structurally sound to ever be lived in again. So the walls may need to come down.
Within 15 minutes, he handed them a check for $1,500. It is now their only possession.
That should get you in the hotel and get you some money so you can get a rental car and if you need to buy some clothing and stuff like that.
5 miles away, Jimenez found another policyholder, Angel Altamirano. He leads Jimenez up the stairs of the first home he's ever owned. He moved in 3 weeks ago. Altamirano couldn't find his insurance papers, so he couldn't get his money right away.
It was a dream, to have a nice house, and we were making everything come nice and together. And just in a couple of hours, you can see everything is all gone.
Never before has a hurricane hit so densely populated an area. So many homes were damaged and destroyed that insurance companies say it could take 3 to 4 weeks just to reach all their policyholders.
In Hugo, you would see a house that was no damage to it, and then a house across the street that was on the ground, it was flat. Here, everyone got hit.
It will be months before insurance companies know just how much they will pay out in claims here. Linda Patillo, ABC News, Perrine, Florida.
We'll have some of the day's other news when we come back.
Draw from the facts. There's a way to maintain regularity without drugs. It starts here. A high-fiber diet, which can include Kellogg's All-Bran, may give you the fiber you need for drug-free regularity. See the recipe on the box for another way to enjoy Kellogg's All-Bran. All-Bran muffins. All that fiber, all that great taste.
Who has the advanced training and equipment to take care of the advanced technology on your GM vehicle? You know who. Mr. Goodwrench, the smart choice for your smart car.
Imagine a pillowy cushion of softness with every step you take. Dr. Scholl's 2-layer air pillow insoles. 1 layer for shock, 1 for comfort. Dr. Scholl's. You'll feel better when the doctor is in.
I was really downing those tablets. Come
Come on, they're not candy. I started to think there was something really wrong with my stomach. I was relieved when my doctor told me to try a new antacid tablet.
Introducing Mylanta tablets, shown to neutralize more stomach acid than the leading tablet.
Unbelievable.
New Mylanta tablets.
My doctor said Mylanta.
In presidential politics, a warm reception for Bill Clinton today before a tough audience. Governor Clinton spoke to the American Legion Convention in Chicago, right after President Bush had addressed the same group and made some rather pointed comparisons to their respective military records. In Chicago, here's ABC's Chris Bury.
Just as the president was telling Legionnaires he wouldn't make a partisan speech, his campaign was handing out literature questioning Governor Clinton's draft record. Mr. Bush, the former Navy pilot, did not mention Clinton by name, but the contrast he intended was clear.
At the age of 18, I went off to fight. Like many of you, I was scared, but I was willing.
Mr. Bush got a warm welcome from his fellow Legionnaires. Following the president and given his history on the draft, Governor Clinton had reason to be anxious.
If any of you here choose to vote against me because of what happened 23 years ago, that is your right as an American citizen, and I respect it. But I hope that you will cast your vote looking toward the future.
Clinton then tried to win the Legionnaires over by pledging his love for the flag, promising better veterans benefits, and pointing out that presidents from Lincoln to Reagan, like the Arkansas governor, had never seen combat.
And as Commander-in-Chief, I will fight to ensure that our troops who must go into battle are the best trained, best equipped, best supported in the world.
Clinton, like Bush, left the Legionnaires standing and applauding. Overall, the president got a warmer welcome, but the stakes were higher for Clinton. And judging from today's reception, he at least did no harm to his campaign. Chris Bury, ABC News, Chicago.
The ambassadors of NATO have once again put off a decision on whether to send troops to Bosnia-Herzegovina. They met today in Brussels to discuss plans for a 6,000-member force that would escort United Nations convoys of food and medicine. Instead, they're going to wait and see what happens at tomorrow's peace talks in London. As it is, the Serbian forces have gained so much ground, there may not be much left to talk about. Here's ABC's Jerry King.
This is what ethnic cleansing is all about. The goal of the fighters was to make sure their neighborhoods will never again house those they consider to be of the wrong ethnic or religious background. In some towns, which have changed hands twice, there's not much left to purify. The old Yugoslavia began to disintegrate 14 months ago. Serbia tried in vain to prevent the other republics from becoming independent, fighting wars with Slovenia and then with Croatia. Now, both the Serbs and the Croatians are carving up Bosnia and Herzegovina, once dominated by Muslims. The Muslims are still fighting, but effectively their republic has ceased to exist. The Serbs, 1/3 of Bosnia's population, now control nearly 3/4 of Bosnia, a fait accompli that raises some tough moral questions.
One is to decide whether or not aggression should be rewarded. Should the Serbs or the Croatians be allowed to keep the territory they have conquered? No one, the U.S. included, wants that to happen.
The Serbs are not going to withdraw voluntarily. What they want is to govern the huge section of Bosnia they control. They've already declared their own republic within Bosnia. The United States is against that too, and is searching for a solution.
The logical conclusion of this is that we all in the West must be ready to put our forces where our principles are and fight for it if necessary.
But how? The few lightly armed UN troops can hardly defend themselves, and no one will commit enough combat troops to allow them to impose a solution by military force, if that were possible. Even an immediate ceasefire would not ease the pain for refugees like Petar. Only 4 members of his family survived ethnic cleansing. 19 were murdered all in one night, his mother says.
If we look at each other through a gun sight, how can we live together again? This was all started by fanatics, and fanatics continue to spread the hate.
And to spread death and despair, and there are still a lot of old scores to be settled. Jerry King, ABC News, Vukovar.
In the eastern German city of Rostock, about 1,000 young neo-Nazis set fire to a shelter housing foreign refugees and fought with police for a fourth straight night. Hundreds of local people stood by and applauded. They shouted, "Germany for the Germans." From Israel today, more signs that the new government of Yitzhak Rabin is changing course regarding its Arab neighbors. First, Israel's foreign minister says his country will consider at least a partial withdrawal from the Golan Heights in exchange for a peace treaty with Syria. And two members of the Israeli ruling coalition announced they've met with a PLO official to talk about peace. We'll have more news in a moment.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
Do you get diarrhea too?
Diarrhea sneaks upon you when you least expect it. I take Kaopectate, and it works. Kaopectate stops the diarrhea fast. It really does. I guarantee it.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered this 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
It has 4 independent motors, an intricate steel frame, even an electronically regulated temperature control system. And that's just the driver's seat. The Lexus ES300 luxury sedan.
Your pets go many places during the course of a day, and you can't always protect them when they go into flea and tick-infested areas. We can. Used as directed, Hartz blockade for dogs and cats repels and kills fleas and ticks, including ticks that carry Lyme disease. By creating a barrier, Hartz blockade prevents these pests from living on your pets. Helping improve your pet's quality of life is your responsibility. Hartz helps you do that. Hartz, everything good for your pet.
In economic news today, lower mortgage rates appear to be luring home buyers back into the market. Sales of existing homes rose nearly 4% in July. That's the first gain in 4 months. A sign of the times, General Motors has told nearly 200,000 white-collar workers and retirees that they will have to pay at least part of their health insurance premiums. GM says it spent nearly $3.5 billion on health care last year. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 4 points to close at 32.32. Trading was heavy. In San Francisco today, officials set honors for a woman who broke the law. It was Brownie Mary Day for a woman who believes that people suffering from AIDS have a right to substances that relieve their suffering, even if those substances are illegal. Here's ABC's Tom Foreman.
Mary Rathbun and supporters who know her as Brownie Mary paraded in the streets today, protesting her arrest for distributing marijuana-laced brownies to AIDS patients. She was picked up last month in nearby Sonoma County when she was caught allegedly pouring 2.5 pounds of marijuana into her brownie batter.
I don't want to go to jail, but by God, I'll go to jail for my kids. I'll go to jail for my cause.
A retired waitress and longtime marijuana activist, Rathbun has made no secret of giving her brownies to critically ill AIDS patients. They say marijuana helps combat both the symptoms of the disease and the side effects of prescription drugs.
It just takes care of everything, the cramping, the nausea, the pain, the burning feeling in your stomach. It just takes it all away.
There is much support here for treating AIDS patients with marijuana, even though it is against the law.
It's like arresting Mother Teresa. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Indeed, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted this week to encourage police to be lenient with people who use marijuana for medicinal purposes. The arrest has given Brownie Mary her best opportunity yet to preach the gospel of medicinal marijuana.
It should never have been made illegal to begin with.
And although until her case is settled, she is baking only marijuana-free cookies for AIDS patients, she vows her crusade will go on whether the courts find it criminal or compassionate. Tom Foreman, ABC News, San Francisco.
One program note, we had planned to have an American agenda tonight on a new alternative to the old multiple choice test, but all the news about Hurricane Andrew has made that impossible. We hope to bring you that agenda item tomorrow. We'll have our final report in a moment.
Have you tried Folgers Coffee Singles?
One coffee
In its own filter.
Singular sensation, every single cup you brew. It's like brewing a whole pot. One cup at a time. Singular sensation, fresh brewed mornings for you. There's ground roast in here.
In its own filter.
Folgers, singular sensation, just for one.
Folgers Coffee Singles. One sensational way to wake up.
Oh, great. Just what my stomach needs. Here comes my obnoxious boss.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, boy.
Better make it Malox, because extra strength Malox Plus neutralizes more acid than Mylanta. So you better make it Malox.
With trusting eyes, the children show minds open, hearts true. Our spirits grow. The touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives. The touch, the feel of hot you, the fabric of our lives.
After examining, testing, it's a fact. You can buy new Preparation H hydrocortisone cream with the maximum strength available without a prescription to relieve problem itch. New Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. Prescription strength without a prescription.
Tonight on Nightline with Ted Koppel, Hurricane Andrew strikes again. Live reports from the Gulf Coast as residents battle their worst nightmare. Nature's fury close up tonight.
Before we go, a final look at Hurricane Andrew. The hurricane is currently moving across the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, it is expected to hit Louisiana's Gulf Coast sometime late tonight, perhaps towards midnight East Coast time. More than 1.5 million people have packed up and fled the coastal areas of Louisiana to get to higher ground. A look at southern Florida, where Andrew hit yesterday, explains why they have moved so fast. At least 15 people were killed. Damage is already estimated at up to $20 billion. It could prove to be the most costly natural disaster in American history. The storm at the moment is picking up wind speed again, currently up to 140 miles an hour, tracking westward across the Gulf of Mexico and along the coast of Louisiana. And the fringes of the storm, although not the eye of the storm itself, the fringe of the storm is still expected to hit New Orleans. That's our report on World News tonight. Peter Jennings will be back tomorrow evening. I'm Ted Koppel. I hope you'll join us later on Nightline. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
North of Dallas, east of the Ponderosa, and a long way from 90210. Epic adventure from a new time and place. Coming tonight, Covington Cross.
When a muffler goes, some people look for a cheap replacement. They think it costs less. Fact is, they can get a quality Midas muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, a guaranteed economizer muffler starting at $24.95. Fact is, installed by experts starting at $24.95. So when somebody says they have a cheaper muffler than Midas, they're right. When they say they're better, fact is, they're wrong. Don't believe anybody ever beats Midas.
How much is a ding, a dent, or a scratch worth to you? Plenty during Big Star Waterbed's warehouse clearance. Right now, you'll save big on slightly damaged waterbeds, accessories, and matching bedroom furniture. Plus, save a minimum of 6% on brand new merchandise store-wide. That's 6% below our guaranteed lowest.